Hello and welcome to On Second Street, where today we're going to do a deep dive into the federal government's budget. Why? Because we're in the middle of an election. We've got political parties out there making all kinds of promises in terms of spending, tax reductions, and everything in between. So we've got a great guest who's going to help us identify some examples of ways where Ottawa could be much more cost effective. Franco Terrazzano is the federal director with the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, and he's agreed to walk us through Ottawa's finances. Franco, thanks for taking a few minutes to chat with us today about Ottawa's financial situation. I wonder if you could start with sort of the big picture to kick things off. Let's talk about the debt. Just how big is the federal government debt right now, and how quickly is it going up?
Well, the federal debt is now more than $1.2 trillion. Okay, so a baby born today, she is crying because she is on the hook for about $30,000 in federal government debt. And remember, when Trudeau first took office less than a decade ago, the debt was $600 billion. So in less than a decade, the Trudeau government doubled the national debt. And you know what? Interest charges on the debt are now costing taxpayers more than $1 billion every single week. So welcome to Canada, folks, where every dollar you pay in federal sales tax now goes to pay interest on the federal debt.
Those are staggering numbers, not just babies. I feel like crying too when I hear those figures, when I think about my hard-earned paycheck being wasted on interest costs. Just to put this into perspective, correct me if I'm wrong, but the federal government's budget in terms of spending is around $500 billion or so. So if the deficit is $60 billion, it's basically they've got about a 10-12% hole in their budget that has to be filled, right? So that we wouldn't see that debt going up. Is that right?
You're absolutely correct. And remember, folks, the deficit last year, right? $62 billion, absolutely crazy. And remember, the debt, the deficit, all of this has been going up while the government has been raising taxes. So today, nearly 9 in 10 middle-class families are actually paying higher federal income taxes because of the Trudeau government's tax increases. And the reason the debt and taxes are both going up is because the federal government has been wasting money like crazy for years.
Okay. I want to switch gears and talk about the good news, and I'll put good news in quotes because it certainly isn't the best of good news. But I think that, it's tougher if you're in a situation where cutting spending is going to affect services that people actually care about and receive. But you've been documenting a whole bunch of examples of things that could be reduced where the average person just wouldn't even notice. So wasteful spending. Let's start at the top of the pyramid with sort of the political class in government. What are some examples of ways where Ottawa could reduce spending and John and Jane public out there just wouldn't even notice?
Yeah, well, look, we definitely need a culture change at the top, right? Because Canadians are struggling, yet our hard-earned tax dollars are funding, these politicians and high government bureaucrats to live high on the hog. Okay, well, let's start with former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, right? He was the person who stayed in the $6,000 per night hotel suite during the Queen's funeral in London, England. Or how about the fact that he billed taxpayers $61,000 for hotel rooms in New York during a 2-day anti-poverty summit? Or the fact that Trudeau's household groceries in 1 year cost taxpayers $81,000, more than what the average Canadian worker makes in an entire year. Or how about this little doozy? When a prime minister leaves office, they get not one, but 2 pensions. Trudeau's total lifetime pensions, both of them, will be about $8.4 million to the age of 90. But of course, it's not just the political class that is wasting our money like this. You also see these top executives, or top bureaucrats, I should say, like the Governor General, right? The infamous trip where the Governor General and her entourage went on a week-long trip to the Middle East and spent $100,000 on airplane food. It's crazy. Or the fact that the Governor General spent 71 grand on limos in Iceland, despite the fact that the hotel was like an 8-minute walk away from the main conference center. And now, Colin, let me just give you one other thing. All MPs, right, are set to receive their 6th pay raise since the beginning of 2020 on April 1, bringing an MP's salary anywhere from $210,000 all the way up to $420,000 for the Prime Minister.
All right. Well, you've given us lots to think about. When we come back, we're going to explore not just examples that could save millions of dollars, but billions of dollars. We'll be back in just a moment.